Hello everyone, welcome back to Emmy's Bookshelf. We are starting off Becca's Bookoplathon round 3, 48 hour style. So for this one, I really needed this. I kind of missed the announcement, and that's okay. I was just going along through life, and literally this week was the worst work week of my last 3 years, I would say. I'm not sounding dramatic on purpose. Like, this was literally the worst. And I work in childcare. I was sick on the Monday, so I'm not counting that, but a 4-day work week felt like a month, and it was just so bad. So I needed something different, and I was like, oh, this is happening. Perfect. It's not even the fact that this is long weekend, which is also wonderful. I have an extra day off, which is not me being sick. So I have 3 days. I also have the ability to focus something directed positively. I don't have to just sit around and be like, oh, last week was awful. So I'm really excited to just focus on the reading and really direct my, have some purpose this weekend while having it be fun and not a drag. So because today was so awful, and because I also work until 5:30 Pacific time, I was late on the game, and it is now 6:20. So yes, I said 5:30 and now it's almost 6:30, but I basically after work was just like, this was the worst week ever. So I needed a little help to, just be a little maybe greedy. It was payday and I went book shopping. So I went to my Christian bookstore and I grabbed In Honor's Defense by Karen Whitmire. I have book 1 and 2, and I have really enjoyed both of them. And this is the third book in the trilogy. And I have it as an ARC as well. So I was like, oh yes. And it came out before its like publishing date. So this is not published yet, but I have a physical copy from my Christian bookstore, so I was able to grab one, and I'm very happy. I would have bought it anyways, but I'm like, this is nice, especially on a day I'm not feeling great. And then I also have another ARC that is coming out next Tuesday, so it's like a little bit early as well, so I'm really happy with that. This one's called My Body Is Not a Prayer Request, and it's called Disability, or the subtitle is Disability Justice in the Church by Amy Kenny. And this one is really short, and she's an author who has disability as well. It doesn't say what, just says that she is a disabled scholar. And it is talking about how the church needs to embrace disability instead of just treating it as a problem, I think. And so I am very excited to own 2 copies. I might just sit down and read them right away. I probably will, but I'm very excited to have them now because I think this one comes out June 7th in Honor's Defense. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, very excited to make myself a little bit, retail therapy. I don't believe in happiness coming from things, but I'm also I did just take a little bit of angst out of my life today. But anyways, so I do have a couple ARCs though that I do need to read. One of them comes out on Tuesday as well, which is called, Potiphar's Wife, and that's by Misu Andrews. That one is a biblical fiction about Joseph, but about the Potiphar's wife who tries to seduce him. So I have started it. It's interesting so far, and I'm going to keep going with that. And then I also have Defending David, which is for the Biblical Fiction Buffs Book Club, which is the 28th. That's the book club meeting, and we're discussing that book. So I need to read that, and it's an ARC that I got as well. So I need to knock off those 2 ARCs. I don't have a physical copy of either of those, so I need to read those as ebooks. And I also, I don't just read Christian fiction, in case you are wondering about my channel. I read a lot of a variety, but just happens to be that this is what I'm talking about right now. I also need to read the book of Job this weekend. I'd like to finish off all of my Bible reading for this month, this week. That'd be nice. So for my first prompt of the God's Readathon, or the God's prompt, I should say, I will be reading one of my biblical fiction for those prompts, for that prompt. And for short book, I'll be reading the book of Job from the Bible. It's 40 chapters, and it is really short, so that kind of counts as 40 pages. So I'm going to count it. I think it was 40, but it's short. It's not like Psalms. So I'm going to count that as my first 2 roll drops. So yes, those 2, but I do have high hopes for finishing other books this weekend. One of which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I am working my way through it. I'm about 25% through the audio. I'm loving my experience of re-listening to it by Dan Stevens. So I am really enjoying re-listening to this one, and I would like to finish off that one this weekend. I'd also like to get through Mexican Gothic. I haven't started this one, but it would be a reread, and I would really like to reread this one this month. I've really planned on it, and I haven't picked it up yet. So this would be a nice, hopeful one to get to. And I do know all of the things, so I think it'd be really a fun one to read. Also alongside Frankenstein. So Frankenstein's not even in picture here. Let me move that. And my last one that I would really like to read, I have a lot of potentials. I would also really like to read Crooked House by Agatha Christie. I have not yet read my Agatha Christie prompt for this month, which is a book set in Europe. So Crooked House is one that I just watched the adaptation on Netflix, and I was like, this one seems like a good option. This was actually the first and probably one of the only Agatha Christie books I figured out entirely, and I was so proud of myself for figuring out all of the motives and everything. I was like, this is the one I know, and I'm really happy about that. But I really loved this one, and I just watched the adaptation, and I want to see what's different and what's not. So I would like to reread this one, and that is my set planned books. If I can squeeze them into, I'll stay up. Squeeze them into the roll drops. So these are the books that I would really like to push into those things. Otherwise, I also will be filming this vlog for the entirety of the long weekend, so I can have a bright, nice, long 3-day reading challenge for myself, readathon challenge. And honestly, I think it'll be really good for me just to de-stress and have fun reading. My goal, and I'm gonna say this from the get-go, this might be a little insane, but my end goal is to read 12 books in 3 days. It's a bit more than 3 days because this is Friday night to Monday night, or till the end of the Monday evening, but I have Victoria Day off because this is a stat holiday in Canada, and I think I can do it. 12 books in 3 days, 4 books a day. If I do both roll drops in with different books, maybe I can do it. So here's hoping. But yes, these are the 3 books I would like to get through. They're all pretty short. None of them are extreme. And I also have a bunch of ebooks that I need to get through via ARCs. So let's see what I can get through this week. And I hope that you stick with me for this. Good morning. It is now 9:30. 9:30. So last night I just was I needed some time. It was a really bad day, and I feel like I might have expressed that a lot. So I actually joined some sprints with Amy from A Star Raise and Danielle from Bookoplathon. I will link their channels down below. They are very small booktubers compared to Becca and all of the people who are hosting, but I was very happy to join them and chat, and I was able to get out my ranting with them. But I was able to sprint with them, and I was able to read a good chunk of Potiphar's Wife by Misu Andrews. So I did finish that after sprinting with them for a bit. So that one was good. I'm thinking of giving it 4 stars. It was really interesting because she's considered like a villain in the Bible, if you want to call it that. She is someone who is definitely villainous and a bad girl, bad guy kind of style. So I really like that new perspective on her. I need to write my review up because it is an arc that's coming out on Tuesday. So that's 3 days away. So I need to write my review and post that. And then, sorry, I haven't talked much yet today since I just woke up, essentially. And then I also read I Hate Fairyland Volume 1. I have it out from the library. I've been keeping my eye out for it, and I found one because I was curious what it was all about. Everyone seems to love it. And I enjoy graphic novels, but I'm not a massive graphic novel fan. So I picked it up and read it, and I think it's not the series for me. I don't typically love all that gore, and that's okay. I like the idea of it, but at the same time, I was just like, I don't think that'll be my series. So that's okay. I read it. I give it 3 stars. I like the idea, the premise, but the gore and the constant violence, which is great for what it is, it's just not my style. So I finished that one off. So those are the first 2 prompts completed. Now this morning I figured out one of the prompts. So one of the prompts is to read an ebook or an audiobook. I have been listening to Job, and that one I am not super far in, but I might not just like put that as my ebook or audiobook. I also have an audiobook of Frankenstein, so I might choose that one. I have lots of variations and options for that, so we'll see what I choose. I'm going to try to figure that out, but I also was looking through my ARC list because none of the books I had picked for my priority list essentially for this weekend had colors in the title, none of them. So what I ended up doing was going to my ARC list and trying to figure out what ARCs that I have colors in the title, because that's going to be my priority go-to essentially in case I just don't have anything that is fitting the prompt. That way I can, knock off some old ARCs and just have a bit easier than going to my shelves. Even though I have a lot of books, I'd like to get off some of those old ARCs. And I found I had two. So this series called True Colors, they are true crime inspired books about true events that happened in the US. And the first one was called The Pink Bonnet, and it follows this series of child kidnapping books, which also is kind of inspired, or like the similar crimes are covered in When We Were Yours. And I haven't read that one by Lisa Wingate. I haven't read that one, but that's the same crime as in The Pink Bonnet. So this one, or these two I should say, I have are The Green Dress, which is about a poisoning one, I think, by a woman named Sarah Jane in Boston. Another one which is called Black Midnight, which is about an event that happened in Texas before 1889 in London. So they are related, and I think it might be Jack the Ripper in both situations. So I am curious to see which one I think. I might go with the poisoning one, which is The Green Dress, because the other woman who we're following the story through, she starts becoming sick and having constant stomach aches, and she is still trusting the other woman, even though the doctor's like, she has a lot of deaths following her around. I'm very curious to read that one, actually. They're both about 250 pages, so I might read them both. But I will be going with The Green Dress, I think, and I will be probably going with my audiobook of Frankenstein for the rest of it, so I can get some stuff done around the house, and I will be getting ready for the next roll drop, which is happening in about 5 hours. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna go with The Green Dress. This one's by Liz Tolsma, and I don't remember what the author was of Black Midnight, but I'll put the picture up here. The series is really interesting to me, although I have only read one. I just haven't prioritized picking them up, even though I really should have, especially since I had two ARCs. The publisher reached out to me for these two, and I really let drop the ball. So I'm gonna get to them now, or I'm gonna get to them real quick. So we'll see. Hi, sorry about the lighting. My place is awful for lighting. But I have finished my ebook. So I finished The Green Dress by Liz Tolsma. This one was good. Let me see if I can do this better. So lighting in my place is awful. We're just gonna go back here where my tripod is. But I have finished The Green Dress. This one here, it was really great. I'm sorry, my camera's tilted. Filming is right now awful. I finished The Green Dress. It was really good. This one follows the story of Sarah Jane, what was her last name? I just was reading it. She was a serial killer in Boston area during the late 1800s, and it was really interesting. I loved how this is like inspired by it, but it really does follow a lot of the true elements. This follows particularly a woman named Harriet who's close to the family, and therefore kind of sees a lot of these events firsthand. So Harriet's not real, but everything else in the story is kind of real, except for the doctor who we also are seeing the events through. So it was very interesting, and I am giving it, I think, a 4-star. It was really engaging and really kind of suspenseful and intense almost, where you're like following it and engaging with it because Harriet's living in the home and you're like, there's poison going on there. She has quite the body count, Sarah Jane, and it is very interesting. At the end, you have a lot of these true facts about what happened and how she got caught. It's very interesting. I'd highly recommend The Green Dress. I really like this series actually for like how each book is called a color of something. So like I said, I have Black Midnight, and if we hit the daytime prompt, I will be reading that one because I'm very interested. I actually have here, I printed off the boards, and I took my little magnet bookmarks and I just put them on each of the spots. So now I can figure out where exactly we might be hitting. And if we do hit the, let's see which one. It's not on this one, but it would be this one here, the night or day one. I will be reading Black Midnight for that because I am very intrigued by it. And that's the only one I could probably read out of my priority pile and arcs. And I'm okay with that. So yeah, I have my little trackers on these ones with my magnetic bookmarks, and it's good. But in terms of my ebook or audiobook, which that technically counted for too, but I am going to be listening to my last 3 hours of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I'm reading this for Mary Shelley May, and I have been partaking in a like low-key way. All of the books I have been reading kind of fit into these extra bingo card prompts. I did take one library book that's like a middle grade one and read it for a Frankenstein retelling, and I am actually going to be rereading this genuine Frankenstein book. So I am about, I would say maybe 25% of the way in, and I am really enjoying it. Maybe a third in, and it is good. I have read it before, and I am liking it now. I'm liking it again. I liked it the first time. So this will be on it, and I will see what comes up next. I have about 4 hours until the next roll drop. So yeah, I'll be listening to this one. I do have a Shakespeare puzzle, which I might work on, and you'll see that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Frankenstein is the next book I will be listening to while I do some puzzling and maybe do some cleaning up around the house. So I focused on the water after I tried to do some buildings unsuccessfully. I am not a massive puzzler, but I am trying to get into it more since I do enjoy it, but I'm just not so successful right now. So I focused on the water. I got all the ships together and I got all of that. This is a Shakespeare puzzle, and it's like the world of Shakespeare. So if you look here, this is Midsummer's Night's Dream, I believe. I think this is Richard III being played out here. Over here we have Macbeth. So it's just really fun. I don't know what this one is up here. I think that might be Julius Caesar. We have another one down here. So it's just really fun. And on the back, it tells you all of the people, all of the characters that you can find here, including William Shakespeare, which is actually, I found him already on the map, or on the big thing. He is right here. That's William Shakespeare. So I have made some progress. I have done the River Thames. So I'm pretty happy with that. I have also 1 hour and 15 minutes left without the double up. So that's what, an hour? No, less than an hour. It's like 40 minutes left. So pretty good. And I am excited. It's 2:30 now, and I'm going to take a break after sitting here for a while, and I will move on. I also finished a good chunk of this building, although now it's all messed up. There's also, funny enough, you can see part of the bear here from the famous Chased by a Bear quote. So there's that one. And yeah, and also here, you can't really see him, but this is Prospero and his daughter from the, oh, I can't remember the play now, but it's the fantastical one. So yeah, all over here, lots of fun Easter eggs to find, and I am enjoying it. But I have enjoyed Frankenstein so far, and I'm using bowls to hold all the little different kinds of houses. So it's helpful. These are all my miscellaneous pieces because I also was getting bored. So that's fair enough. And all my grass pieces. So I'm happy to be done water. And we'll be moving on later on, but no more for now. Okay, so the parole drops just happened. I am going with my Agatha Christie book for the spooky prompt. This one is one of her darker books for sure. So I'm like, it's a reread for me. And this will fulfill my Agatha Christie prompt for Read Christie 2022. And that prompt is this book set in Europe, so super broad. But I'm gonna read this one because I watched the movie recently and still want to get into it like I mentioned yesterday, I believe. And then for the young adult prompt, I was like, I don't have anything. And then I realized I still have a couple books that I had mentioned in my TBR clue that I really wanted to get to. I want to get to for my historical fiction reading plans, and I haven't yet. So I have Sister to the Wolf by Maxine Trottier. This one takes place in Canada, which I do not have crossed off yet for that readathon. And I also have The Ramsey Scallop, which is by Francine Temple. And I have not read this book in a very, very long time. And this one is about a 14-year-old and her fiance who have to do like a quest in 13th century Britain or something like that. So this one also takes place in like 1500s, I believe. So it's just both old YA historical fiction books. Well, no, they're not old Britain, but anyways. So I'm gonna be reading one of these or probably both, and then this one for sure. And those will be my new 2 roll drop prompts. So I'm glad to at least get this one in and some of the other old priority books. So it is now like it's almost 10 o'clock, but I am going to go to Walmart because I need to film on Monday, and look what my lovely tripod did. It snapped. It's gone. So I am going to run to a Walmart. They look like they have some in stock because I don't have any time to wait on that. So we're going to go quickly wait because they close at 11, and I don't want to risk them being out of stock tomorrow and having no tripod. I am about 100 pages into Sister to the Wolf, and I'm enjoying it. It's really good. It's like 15 years old as a book, but I am enjoying it even though I don't know when it's set. So I'm gonna continue on with that later after I edit my video that I filmed today on a very wobbly stand, and I will be going and grabbing a new stand right now. I really hope they have what I need in stock. So I'm back. It is 10:20. I got it. It looks very shiny. I was figured out to unbox it with you guys. So why not? I hope it's gonna work for my thing. I will say that my tripod back there lasted me 3 years almost. I started my channel 3 years ago in June. It is May 21st, right? Yeah, May 21st. Is that it, or is this something else too? This is something else I need. So I am starting my channel June, and I am very happy with how that tripod lasted for so long. So it's kind of a sad day. I kind of feel like I need a funeral for that one. But okay. It looks like it might have a very high thing. That was the thing about online. It looked like everything was really short, and I was like, I need something with height. Can't just be a short one. So well, it looks like it might be okay. We'll see. Oh, it definitely is longer, so that is good. We'll compare it to my other one tomorrow. I'm not gonna do all that today. The book's falling from behind me. Then in here are the little nozzles. Oh boy, so that's good. I'll need both of those maybes, considering that my other one snapped. And this for changing of the modes for like the lighting. Because I think the box says, let's see, 9 different colors and 12 levels of brightness. and 8 special effects modes. I don't know if I'll use any of those, but who knows, I might, so we'll see. Then in here must be the ring light, which I don't typically use a ring light because it reflects off my glasses, but I do use the stand that it's in, and that's what I need it for. So there we go. Definitely not the brand I had before, and that's okay. So there's that one, and this piece, I don't know what that's for, and instructions. So I'll be putting this together tomorrow, but I'm happy, excuse me, to have my ring light, and it should definitely fit my phone. So that's the biggest concern. Thank goodness I was able to get one, and it was like $50, considering my last one lasted me 3 years. If this one's at much the same quality, at least I'll have 3 years out of a $50 investment into my channel, so that'll be good. And if it does come to not being like a phone anymore that I film with, I can also put a camera on here, which maybe I'll do one day, but for now the phone is working. So yeah, my late night pit stop was successful. About the Sister to the Wolf, this book is about a woman named Cecile. Well, a woman, she's 15, and she lives only with her father because her mother has passed away. And as she's walking through her town or city in New France, I believe it is, or Quebec, when it's very old, like hundreds of years ago, I believe. Doesn't really state the year. Anyway, she sees a man who's indigenous being beaten, and this is back when they called them Indians. So the book is using the terms that they used at the time. And this author, Maxine Trottier, is very respectful to the cultures that she's talking about. She's written several other children's to young adult books, and I have found them all to be very respectful and also very honest about the culture she's talking about and what they did to people who were indigenous. So I think that it's very well handled. Even though I myself am not indigenous, I can see that she's handling it very respectfully. So she sees a man who's being beaten, and then she next day goes over and purchases him because she wants to free him from being cruelly beaten like that. So when she purchases him, it sets a whole bunch of trouble. Her father hates the idea, and she realizes that he's only 17 years old, so he's not actually a grown-up at all. But they free him, and he decides to follow them around and go with them on their travels as they go to trade with other people. So we are at the point, at least where I'm at the point, they are on their journey and he is traveling with them. His name is Les Athro. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I am really enjoying it on my reread. It's been a while since I've read it, but I have read it several times. And I know what's coming up at the end, but I'm enjoying my ride to get there. So it's very good. And I am enjoying learning what's going on again, because I've forgotten at least what's happened up to this point. So I'm enjoying it. I do plan on reading the Ramsay Scallop because I am really excited to reread that one for the first time in probably 10 years, to be honest, even though I've carried it around with me. Although my reading style has been very slow this weekend. I know I've read a lot of books, but at least today it's been very, very slow. It took me like 2 hours to read 100 pages. And for me, that's like 4 times slower than normal. So I'm kind of confused as to why I'm so slow, but I'm going to have to edit my mid-month wrap up so I can post it tomorrow. And then I'll try to read some more before I can, I don't know, get anywhere with Sister to the Wolf, which I am enjoying, but apparently it's 2 hours to read the 100 pages. So anyways, that's my little update for that book, and my little purchase update for my channel, which I will be using when I film my TBR Clue on Monday, which is why I needed to get it pronto before maybe they sold out on tonight or tomorrow. So yeah. Anyways, I will probably not be checking in tonight, but I will check in tomorrow when the roll drops are when I wake up. And then I will be letting you know what I'm reading for them. Side by side, like that one is way taller than my other one. That's pretty incredible. So I'm pretty happy with that, actually. That's nice. Good morning. It is about 9 o'clock now. I did not go to sleep early enough. I just wasn't tired, and that's not good. But I feel like I'm gonna be able to reset my sleep schedule tonight or tomorrow because of the stat, which is wonderful. But the new prompt drops. First of all, I did not touch Sister to the Wolf. I used one of my M&M's bag, top things as a bookmark, and they have tons. It's fine. But the prompt drops were feed scroll, and I looked through Goodreads, and Goodreads looked like they had a couple options for me, but the options were really big books, and the way I struggled to just ingest Sister to the Wolf yesterday, I'm like, I don't think I want to read a book over 400 pages today, unless I just seem to be flying through books, and I'll be okay with that. And I'm normally okay with it, but this weekend I'm not. So I'm going to change that. I went onto Instagram then and checked the currently reading tag, and I found Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. So I'm like, well, I haven't read that one, and it is on one of my TBR jars, so I need to get to it eventually. So I'll pick this one up. And it's a shorter one, so it's like 365. So it's not that short, but it is something I think I'll be able to fly through comparatively to the other ones that were there. So at least I'm hoping I can. Then the other one was a book with water on the cover, and I had really wanted to read this book this weekend, as it is an arc that's coming up very soon, and it will be this one. So this is In Honor's Defense. So it's water on the cover. That's a river there, and I didn't get the book from the publisher, but like I mentioned earlier in the first clip, this one was in my Christian bookstore earlier than publication, so I'm very happy with that. But I do have the ebook for it as well because of the publishers giving it to me. So I would like to read this one for my water prompt, and this one I believe is almost 400 pages, even though I didn't want that. So it's over 375. So yeah, I'm adding a few bigger books. Considering I've only read like books around 250 pages, 270 pages so far, but that'll be okay. I have all of today. I will be going to church in a bit, but aside from that, I should be good. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a good reading day, and I can just start to fly through these instead of just having 2 hours for 100 pages, which is so not me. So not me, but anyways. So I'm back from church now. I have started to develop a bit of a migraine. I sat too close to the speaker, and that's not great. Yeah, I tried to avoid lights, and I didn't think of sound. But I decided to change up the books because honestly, as much as I'm enjoying this one, it's taking me too long to get through. So I'm changing that out for A Woman Named Damaris. I have read this one before, but I'm going to reread it. This is by Jeanette Oak. I consider this YA, so I'll read that one. And then for Water on the Cover, I'll try to read this one tomorrow, but honestly, it's considering how I'm feeling too big and new, so I'm not going to do that. I'm picking up another big book though, which is this one. It's called Bamboo and Lace by Lori Wick. It has water on the cover there. This is a book about a woman who comes to Hawaii from a very, very, what is it, the word? It's very closed culture. She's not she doesn't know how to talk to men. It's very, very isolated, and it is very interesting. It's been a long time since I read it, and I wanted to reread it, so I'm going to just try those ones. And I will attempt also the woman, not the woman, but the Death of Mrs. Westaway. So those are my 3 books now, and I'm going to try to go through it. I'm going to give myself 5 hours because I started the readathon technically at 6 o'clock, and it's like almost 1 o'clock now. So I'm going to give myself 5 hours, even though the readathon technically ends at 4 for me. But that's what I'm going to do, and hopefully I can finish off these 3 books by that time. And I will enjoy them. I'll let you know what happens. I have read the 2 new books before, but I have never read The Death of Mrs. Westaway. So this will be my next Ruth Ware book. And after that, I only have The Lion Game from her. So yeah, I'm going to get reading now. So it is 5:45 now. I have been reading. I managed to read 170 pages in The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and to be quite honest, I was just bored. I was just like reading page after page after page just because I felt like I had to, and it just was very predictable. every, like, the big twist or whatever that they were going with, or that Ruth Ware was going with, I was like, well, that's obviously it. And I was like, oh, it was real. That's obviously it. So I'm like, I'm just so bored. So I'm DNFing this because I got to 170 pages in and I was just like, I don't care. I can figure out what's happening and I'm not in the mood right now to be reading a book I just am apathetic about. And I don't have the brain power to waste. So I got 44% in. So that's not bad. I'm going to count that as my feed scroll prompt because I got 170 pages into this book. I'm done. I also finished, well, I started and finished A Woman Named Damaris. A Woman Named Damaris by Jeanette Oak. I flew through this one. It was a reread and I really enjoyed this one. This one's about essentially a young teen who is running away from her abusive father. He is an alcoholic, and whenever he drinks, he becomes abusive. This is like starts when she's just about to be 15, and it follows her journey traveling west, trying to get away from her father. These books are very short, and they're like just over 200 pages. My ebook was 145. This one is 218. So very short, but very good. And I really enjoy them. They're Women of the West series. So they're like about living in the Wild West, like historical fiction kind of books. YA, I would say, and all Christian historical fiction. And then I changed out my water on the cover prompt because I was like, I don't have enough time. And I also don't have enough time to finish this. But I got 75 pages into Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. I, like I said, 75 pages in, I think 85 pages in. So I am enjoying this one. I just didn't have enough brain power to read it. I needed a nap and my health is more important than me finishing all the books. So if I include my DNF, I finished 7 prompts, which is wonderful. I finished 1 prompt from each roll job if I include the DNF, which I am, and I am going to be happy with all of that. I also am started on one of these library books, which I've been putting off for a while, and this is like just under 200 pages, or just under 300 pages, not 200. So I don't have far to go in this one when I do get back to it. But I have done some really successful reading so far. I think I'm still tired, but that's okay. But yeah, so what else have I read this weekend? I read this one, I Hate Fairyland. I'm sure you've seen it. This one is very gory. I am someone who enjoys mysteries and, thrillers and stuff, but I don't like reading a lot of gore described. So the fact that this book, this graphic novel, is literally all gore, I was just like, it was just not for me. So let me see if I can find a really good example of the gore level. This is only the beginning, but the cover really does a good job of explaining that. So I will not be continuing in that series, but I'm glad to know what it is. So there we go. I also read several other things, but I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'm gonna have to pull up my Goodreads account because Storygraph doesn't track what day everything was read on. But let me just check. So I read Crooked House, which I read for Spooky Prompt, and I really enjoyed my rereads. Gave it a 5-star again. Loved that, although I was surprised at how accurate the movie was that I had watched. Obviously, they made some choices that were different, but overall it was very, very accurate. I read Frankenstein, which was a reread as well. This seemed to be the one of rereads, which is interesting. So Frankenstein was a reread as well, and I really enjoyed that one. I give it 4 stars again. And Frankenstein was for an audiobook or an ebook. This one was for short read. I also read The Green Dress by Liz Tolsma, and that one was for a color in the title. That one also got 4 stars, so that The graphic novel got 3. Everything else so far has got 4. I read Potiphar's Wife, which got 4 stars. I still need to write my review up though of it. And those were the only things I have read aside from A Woman Named Damaris, which I'm giving 4 stars. And the DNF, which was Ruth Ware's The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I think I said The Death of Damaris. A Woman Named Damaris got 4 stars. This one is getting a 0 rating. I'm not rating it. But I have officially counted that as part of my stats for this weekend. So yeah, pretty good overall. Pretty happy with it. I will continue to use the board though as the weekend progresses, just so I have a little directed maybe prompt reading over the books I can pick. And then we will see what happens. So I'm going to try to finish out Evie Drake Starts Over, and then that will be my 8th prompt fulfilled, and I will roll the board and let you know what my next prompt will be. So it is Monday. I had a sleep in, which I think I desperately needed because I don't remember the alarm clocks going off, which I clearly hit during the night or during the morning. And then when I woke up, I read The Vampire by John Polidori, which I figured would go great for Frankenstein or Mary Shelley May, because The Vampire by John Polidori was written and came up with that story during the exact same time. Okay, well, story time first. So Frankenstein, in case you were not aware, was written or come up with the idea, one night during a storm when Mary Shelley, her husband Percy, Lord Byron, and his physician, John Polidori, were stuck together overnight in a storm when they were all in a house stuck together. So they came up with these horrible tales, essentially. So Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein after that event, and John Polidori wrote The Vampire, which apparently is the very first ever vampire story. So I read that one. I give it 3 stars. It's very much a short story, and it's just there's too much plot in there. But it was really interesting to think of it as the first vampire story. I think you can tell that Mary Shelley is a writer. She's away with words. And she was able to flesh out her idea so well. I thought it was just really important, or maybe not important, but really good to do her contemporary's work, being the one who was actually coming up with the story at the same location as her, like I said, a ghost tale or a campfire story while they were all stuck together for a storm. So I read The Vampire, and I thought that was really good. So it was published in 1819. Then I also started Defending David on my Kindle, and that one came out in February, but it's the pick for the Biblical Fiction Book Club buffs, and I will be finishing that one today. I think I have 99 pages left according to my percentage calculations, because it's a 300-page book, and I'm really enjoying it. It's actually really interesting because as soon as we met Absalom, who is David's son, I was like, I know what part of David's life this is because of my read through of the Bible. And it was just really strange to be, so aware because I've been doing my chronological read through of the Bible, which I also want to finish Job today. I have 30 pages left in that book. So those are my goals for today. And it is a bit later. I took a nap after that. After my long sleep in, I think I needed it. Yeah, like I said, last week was rough, so I don't think I got enough sleep. I needed to take extra, whatever else. I needed to balance out my life. So I'm going to be enjoying the rest of today. And then tomorrow I'm back at work. I think I've prepped enough for tomorrow's work, but I do need to just go over what I've prepped to make sure I have all of the details, because tomorrow is the start of my circle week where I am doing the theme, and my theme is British Columbia, where we live, and it's going to be fun. So I need to make sure I have all my information down for that. So that's something else I need to do today, but it shouldn't be too much. But yeah, so I'm going to go back to reading Defending David, and I will be having a good time with it, I really hope, because I am really enjoying it, and I hope it ends well. because it's not about David, it's through the eyes of Ittai, the Gittite, who is a Philistine, and he knew David when David was on the run from Saul, which is really interesting, and also a young woman named Ramona? No, I can't remember exactly how her name is spelled, and she is a young woman whose uncle is in the palace, and the girl's uncle is a musician, and now he wants to serve King Absalom. So not exactly loyal to King David. So it's very interesting because, in case you're not aware of the biblical history, David's son tried to basically throw a coup and take over the throne while his father was still alive. So that's where this part of the book takes place over mostly. So it's really interesting, and it's really cool to read it through other people's perspective, and especially since I know a lot of the information from reading the Bible chronologically, it's really cool to read. So I will be finishing that off today. Hi, so it's the end of Monday night. It's like 10 o'clock, but I have finished some reading, and I'd like to update you on my end of the day and end of the weekend and how much I've read. I did figure out how much I read over the 48-hour readathon and how much I read over Monday. So I will go over all those things, including what I've read today. So for the short prompt, I picked I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. I had stuff from my library, and like I said, it's just not my kind of gore genre thing. I was really interested in why everyone loved it and was talking about it, so I found volume 1 at my library finally. I just didn't put it on hold, and I kept looking, and I just figured out it's not for me, so I give it 3 stars. I like the idea and the concept, but because it is a graphic novel and it's drawn, I don't like to see all the gore. But I did think it was an interesting idea, and it's just not my style. So I'm glad to have figured out that's not for me. And I am glad to say that I could recommend this to several people, but it's just not my style. I think I might have a few enough books physically to show you them all standing up. So another book that I read was Potiphar's Wife by Nisu Andrews. This was a biblical fiction book that I had as an ARC, and it comes out end of May, like Tuesday, so tomorrow, when I'm filming this. So I still need to get my review written tonight, but I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 5 stars because it takes a quintessential bad girl of the Bible, someone who seduced Joseph, and that's all we know about her, and turns her backstory into potential what it could be. That's kind of why I love biblical fiction. I just love to see what it could have been situation, and I was very happy to have read that. And I think it just, I don't know, it was something different and not what I expected, and I really appreciate it. So it has a lot of talk about different cultures and how a young woman who comes to Egypt and just doesn't know anyone, how she would feel and how that would translate. So I thought it was really interesting. I will link my review once it's down below. I also can't remember what prompt that was for. Oh no, that one was for the gods related one because I picked that one for biblical fiction as it's relating to Christianity. So for the next 2 prompts, they were, I'm gonna forget this. So the next 2 were ebook or audiobook, and for the audiobook, I put on Frankenstein. I had about 25% of it done, but I finished it off. And this one, I give it 4 stars again. I really enjoyed rereading this. I think it's just a different kind of science fiction that you might not expect going in. And I didn't used to read science fiction. Now I'm starting to get into it more, but as someone who didn't love it a lot, this was a good bridge for me because it's not heavy on the science fiction, but it's a lot about social commentary through the lens of science fiction. So I thought it was really interesting. I also love this edition. Just gotta say, it's just beautiful. But I really loved listening to it. This one the audiobook has Dan Stevens, so he's always great. There's a siren, I'm sorry. But yeah, this one was really good. And if you don't know the true story of Frankenstein, Frankenstein is the doctor who creates Frankenstein's creature. And it's about how Frankenstein basically creates this monster and then says, I'm not going to do anything about it, and how everything unravels. It's really interesting. If you've never read it, it's not a long audiobook. This book itself is 207 pages. It's not a long book at all. You can totally pick it up and give it a shot, and I think it's worth it. For the other one of color in the title, I read The Green Dress by Liz Tolsma. This was an arc that I had and I should have read a long time ago, and once I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. There was a lot of interesting factors about this. This one follows a woman named Harriet who is connected to a family where there's a lot of deaths going on, and she's asked to move in with them. But if you are reading it, you can tell that there's poison involved, and it is very suspicious, and Harriet is not aware of what's happening. So it's very fast-paced, action included, and it's very interesting for me to read that book from the perspective of someone who is a potential victim of a poisoner. I thought it was really clever and I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. I think it's one that you might want to check out. It's really short, 250 pages, and yeah, it's a really good series. I say that only having read 2 books in the series, but I have Black Midnight out, and that's related to Jack the Ripper. All of those books in the series take place in the US, and they're all inspired by true crime events that happened in the United States. So I really am interested to pick up Black Midnight now. The next one was spooky, and I read Crooked House by Agatha Christie. This one I remember being one of her darker Agatha Christie books, and I really enjoyed that. I don't know why I said Agatha Christie, one of her darker books. I really enjoyed reading this one. I haven't read it since I read it the first time and figured out the things, and I was so impressed when I first read it and learned, figured out all the tricks myself. I was surprised reading it this time. One, how similar it is to the movie that you can watch currently on Netflix when I'm filming this, but I don't know. It's a pretty recent movie. I will try to put a picture of the cover here. But this one, it was just very similar to the movie, which I was actually really impressed, but also how late certain events happen in here, which I was kind of interested by. But I really love this one. This one follows a family where there is a death in the family. The police are investigating, and the family, it follows kind of like a crooked house. A crooked man had a crooked house and a crooked mile and all those things. And it's very crooked. It's really interesting, and this one's definitely creepy for her work. So I really enjoyed it, and it worked for the spooky prompt. I also read for the YA prompt, a woman named Damaris by Jeanette Oak. This one is a Christian historical fiction, YA kind of romance. It's more of a coming of age story, to be honest, and that's kind of why I classify them as YA in this series, but this one in particular. This one follows a young teen, well, not really young teen, but in that middle point where her name is Damaris and she feels very lonely. All she knows about her name is that it comes from the Bible, and she is eventually going to strike out on her own, and it's really about her growing up and how she approaches life. It is very good. I really enjoyed this one. I give it 4 stars. I think this one handles a lot of difficult topics. It handles alcoholism. It handles death of a parent. It handles a lot of things. I think it does it quite well in here, and I'm really glad that I reread it and I was able to enjoy it as much as I thought I did before. For feed scroll, I found The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and I have DNF'd this, and I'm going to count it as feed scroll. I'm not going to find another book, and I did not want to. I read about 44%, so almost halfway. I'm going to count that. 170 pages went into this, and I was just bored. I didn't care. I didn't care about any of the characters, but more than that, I figured out a lot of the plot twists at this point, and I was just like, if I figured out almost everything at this point, and I also don't care, then it's just not worth my time and effort. So I'm just gonna pass on this one for now. If I ever feel interest to pick it back up, I will just get a library copy, and I'm just going to unhaul it, because what's the point in me keeping a book I don't feel intrigued to own? It's sad because I have enjoyed some of her other books a lot more than this one, and I've heard this is one of her best books, considering what it is she has out there, which I think is fascinating, because I haven't found her best quote-unquote books to be my favorite of her books. So I don't know. We'll see if I enjoy The Lion Game as little as everyone else, or if I enjoy it more. And then for Water on the Cover, I hadn't finished the prompt, but I have finished the book. I have now switched it to, and I'm gonna go with Sister to the Wolf, because this one has snow on the cover, and snow is a form of water. I'm gonna go with that. But I just have finished this one this evening. I really enjoyed this one. I'm giving it 4 stars. This one handles topics of slavery in 1700s Canada in Quebec. It also handles the topic of slave trade. Well, not slave trade, but goods trading, and how they traded with First Nations and Indigenous people, and how it all happened between the different groups of people and different tribes. It talks a lot about those things, but also talks a lot about the injustices that are going on all through this YA historical fiction novel. I think it does a really good job of handling the sensitivities of this. Maxine Trottier has done a lot of work on this, and she based one of the main characters, or one of the like side main characters, on a relative of hers, like distant, you know, ancestor of hers. And I also think that it's interesting how she takes these important topics, handles them so sensitively, and does it in a really respectful way. And also, due to that ancestor of hers, she also has some Indigenous blood in her, according to that comment. I don't know how much or how she identifies with that tribe or not, but it was something I found very interesting and very important. So I really enjoyed this one, giving it 4 stars. It was just slower than I remembered, so I don't know if that was me or this weekend, or if it was the book itself. So I'm giving it 4 instead of 5, but I still highly recommend it. So in total, over the 48-hour readathon, I read 1,615 pages, which is a lot. That's like 800 pages a day, or 800 pages per 24 hours. I think that is quite an achievement considering my mood and how that impacted my reading speed. I noticed my reading speed went down by half this weekend, and it's still half, and I'm like, that's just very shocking to me. Even though that's fast, that's not fast for me. So I'm happy with that number. Then after this weekend, after this start of Monday, I have read more books. So one of them that I read was The Vampire by John Polidori. This one is for the Mary Shelley May, which I also read Frankenstein for. And this one is for the prompt of contemporary of Mary Shelley. And I figured it's totally appropriate, and I would feel like it would not be appropriate to pick someone who was not there when she created the storyline of Frankenstein. So when she created the storyline of Frankenstein, she put together the idea of it at an overnight storm, and Polidori was there, and he created the story of Vampire. So I had to read it. It was very short. It was 72 pages, and I found an e-copy, which is like 200 years old now, over 200 years old, which is crazy. But I did read that, and I found that to be very interesting. I also read Defending David. This is by Barbara Britton, and I read it for the Biblical Fiction Book Club's buffs. Biblical Fiction Book Club buffs. It always trips me up that, I don't know, all the alliteration. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 5 stars. It was just really interesting to have a look at King David's life through the eyes of another, but also it was interesting to look at through the eyes of someone who's a Philistine and have that be portrayed really, I don't know. It was really interesting because in biblical fiction, we often see the characters who are from Israel or who are Jewish, and we don't tend to see someone who is not, unless it's Ruth. And so it was really interesting for me to see someone who is a Philistine who's a sworn enemy of the Israelites, and have their story be so portrayed, but also have the racism so prominent in that. I also really loved how it was all about defending King David, which the title was, and didn't stray away from that point. I think it was a really well done story, and I can't wait to discuss it with everyone on Sunday. I think that's when our discussion date is, so that'll be good. The last book that I finished was the Book of Job from the Bible. I am like 2 chapters away, but I'm going to be finishing that, and it gets 5 stars. All the Bible's books get 5 stars for me. I'm always learning and growing, and it's really interesting, so that'll be done. So in total, over the 3-day weekend, I read 2,377 pages, so that still works out to about 800 pages a day, and I am very happy with it, like I said. So I have read a lot. I didn't do the board anymore, but I'm going to save them and keep them for the future, maybe when I am needing some more direction with reading prompts, and I will have a lot more, I don't know, fun we'll see in the future with them, I hope. I'm going to save them and put them where I can find them. So please let me know down below what you read for the 48-hour Becca's Bookoplathon. If you had fun with the prompts, what was your favorite one to fill with a book? I'd love to chat down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.